Good morning and happy Saturday. How's everyone doing out there this morning?
Morning,
Happy
guys.
Good morning.
Saturday. Good
Woo!
morning.
Morning.
All right. You wouldn't know it's 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, even earlier in some of the other regions of the United States that people are attending to this. Welcome, everyone. We're off again on another episode of Voices of Healthpointe. And this is something that we do virtually every Saturday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then we also upload the episodes onto YouTube and just look it up under Voices of Healthpointe. And we've got some 140 plus episodes on there. So the way we often do things, as many of us know, is that we have some docket items, and then we just kind of move into a lot of banter and commentary and just fun discussions, all things related to Healthpointe, of course. And true to form, today we have the docket items. My docket item is called the Transitional Wind. Then we have Debbie Llewellyn that we're laughing. For those that are familiar with what's called a sanguine personality, she giggled about as a sanguine. She's going to do a docket item called Dress Yourself Happy. And that's very fitting with a sanguine personality. So we're looking forward to that. And Eileen, well, I don't know. We've bounced around 17 different docket titles, but I like what David Munoz mentioned, what a walk in the park can prepare you for. So you're going to be chatting briefly about your experiences with your knee. So we've got 3 docket items lined up, and mine is a little bit longer than normal. So we're going to get hopping right into this and moving things along. I am going to do a mute all now, just so that there's no disruptions, during the reading of a docket item. And I make mention of that just so those of you that care to comment in a moment, just know that you have to unmute. So with that, first I want to comment that the content shared here is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not intended as medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult your healthcare provider before making any changes to your health routine. Our discussions draw on wellness concepts similar to those found in the Healthpointe methodology, which we hold in high regard. The ideas presented are independently developed and do not represent or speak on behalf of the Healthpointe brand. Again, title of my docket item is The Transitional Wind. This coming 4th of July, which by the way is next Saturday, this coming 4th of July is unlike any in our lifetime. As our nation celebrates 250 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence, we have an opportunity to reflect not only on our history, but also on the extraordinary framework established by the Constitution, together with our nation's commitment to inalienable rights and free enterprise. And that continues to demonstrate what is possible when individuals are free to innovate, build, and serve others. With that in mind, today's walk and talk is directed primarily towards our Healthpointe coaches, the business builders, and those considering the opportunity to help others improve their health through coaching. While many of the ideas we'll discuss apply equally to other areas like retirement, career changes, family transitions, and countless other seasons of life, today's conversation intentionally leans towards those of us building a coaching practice and business centered on serving others. Many of you will recognize talks by Rich DeVos, such as Compassionate Capitalism, Try or Cry, and many others that inspired entrepreneurs for decades. Today, however, I'd like to reflect on one of his most enduring metaphors, the 4 winds. Over many years, Rich returned to this sailing metaphor in speeches delivered around the world. Rather than describing business through numbers or strategy alone, he used the familiar experience of wind and sail to illustrate the conditions every entrepreneur eventually encounters. The north wind of criticism and doubt, the east wind of changing conditions and uncertainty, the south wind of comfort and complacency, and the west wind of opportunity and favorable conditions. His point was never that we could control the wind. His point was that we could learn to adjust our sails. For those of us involved with Healthpointe, Rich's words carry an additional significance. The coaching model we enjoy today is fueled by Neutralite nutrition and supported by a business system that traces back to the vision he and Jay Van Andel helped create. Without that foundation, many of us would not have the opportunity to combine best-in-class nutritional products, evidence-based coaching, and a free enterprise model that allows us to improve lives while creating opportunity for ourselves and our families. The more I've reflected on Rich's metaphor over the years, the more I found myself thinking about something he never explicitly discussed. Not another wind, rather what happens while the wind is changing, the transitional wind. Perhaps the greatest opportunities in life and business aren't found after the wind has changed. Perhaps they're found while it's changing, because that is precisely the moment we are invited to change with it. In the sailing metaphor, the old wind wasn't wrong. It simply carried us for a season. Neither are the ways many of us have successfully built our businesses over the years. They brought us to where we are today. The opportunity presented by today's marketplace, however, seems to invite something slightly different, not a different destination, a different trim of the sails, a slightly different angle to the wind, a willingness to continually adjust as the conditions around us evolve. Perhaps the transitional wind is inviting us to become more than business owners. Perhaps it's inviting us to become world-class builders of healthy organizations and communities. Perhaps it's inviting us to move simply beyond talking about products on their own merits and instead learning to ask thoughtful questions, listen carefully, understand another person's goals, and then place those products into the context of helping someone improve their metabolic health and achieve lasting health. Perhaps a transition inviting us to become a little more courageous. Many of us are naturally reserved. We don't want to inconvenience people or appear overly enthusiastic, yet serving others sometimes begins with a simple conversation. The transitional wind may be inviting us to become a little more comfortable reaching out, a little more confident beginning meaningful discussions, and a little more willing to share something that has genuinely helped us and so many others. Transitions are rarely dramatic. Often they are subtle. A sailor may not immediately recognize that the wind has begun to clock around. At first, there may simply be an occasional flutter in the sails. The boat is still moving, but not quite as efficiently. The experienced sailor doesn't criticize the wind or wish for yesterday's conditions. Instead, he watches carefully, adjusts the sheets, trims the sails, and gradually discovers what first felt uncertain has become a stronger, steadier source of forward progress. Perhaps that is one of the quiet skills every entrepreneur continues developing throughout life, not simply learning to sail, learning to recognize when the wind is asking us to sail a little differently. About 18 months ago, during a Voices of Healthpointe episode, we explored the idea of headwinds becoming tailwinds. Maybe some of you remember that. At the time, it felt more like observing subtle changes on the horizon than describing conditions that everyone could already see. There were signs that public interest in health, wellness, and metabolic health was beginning to shift. The sails weren't necessarily full yet, but there were indications that the wind had begun to clock around. Looking back today, those observations seem even more meaningful. Millions more people are asking questions they weren't asking a few years ago. How do I improve my metabolic health? How do I reverse insulin resistance? How do I build muscle as I age? How do I improve my energy? How do I lose weight in a way that actually lasts? People aren't simply looking for another diet. Increasingly, they're looking for understanding. That growing curiosity has been supported by an extraordinary number of respected physicians, researchers, educators, and podcasters who continue bringing evidence-based discussions about nutrition, movement, sleep, metabolic health, and longevity into the mainstream. Conversations that reach only a relatively small audience are now reaching millions. That too feels like a changing wind. Within our own community, we've watched something similar unfold, particularly over the past year alone. The leadership of Dave and Natalie Dornan, together with their influence on the continued development of Network 21's educational resources, online seminars, and in-person weekend conferences, has created an increasingly rich environment for coaches who genuinely want to grow. The educational system continues to mature. The leadership continues to deepen. The opportunities to learn continue to expand. We've also watched our own community reflect those same favorable conditions. Not only has our Saturday walk and talk here continued to strengthen, but the Monday and Thursday 30-minute walk and talks are now thriving with coaches, clients, prospective coaches, and prospective clients. On any given week, participants may join from communities throughout the United States and Canada, and also connect from countries including the United Kingdom, Norway, India, Australia, and beyond. What once felt like a relatively small gathering has become an expanding international community connected by a common desire to improve health while helping others do the same. Even our own communications platform tell part of the story. Our Facebook Messenger communities have grown to the point that additional groups have been created simply because the original conversations had become too large to manage comfortably. None of those developments happened overnight. Like a shifting wind, they arrive gradually. Then there are the clients. Perhaps they provide the strongest evidence of all. Their success isn't measured only by a number on a scale. It's reflected in renewed confidence, improved metabolic health, greater understanding of how their bodies work, a new relationship with food, a growing library of knowledge through our daily audios, a community that replaces isolation with encouragement, new habits that become a way of living rather than another temporary attempt at dieting. Those transformations rarely remain private. Health, and particularly weight loss, has a way of becoming visible. Family members notice, friends ask questions, coworkers become curious, conversations begin naturally. In many ways, each transformed client becomes living evidence that meaningful change is possible. One transformation leads to another, one conversation leads to another, and one coach helps another family. Over time, those individual stories begin to create their own momentum, much like a snowball gathering size as it continues rolling forward. Perhaps that is another characteristic of a favorable wind. It doesn't simply move one boat. It encourages an entire fleet. Reflecting on Rich DeVos's Four Winds has reminded me that the most important adjustment is rarely the wind itself. It is our willingness to continue to adjust our sails. Sometimes that adjustment is learning a new coaching skill. Sometimes it's becoming more confident, beginning conversations. Sometimes it's asking better questions. Sometimes it's simply recognizing that today's marketplace may be inviting us to serve people in a slightly different way than yesterday's marketplace did. None of that suggests abandoning what has brought us this far. Quite the opposite. It suggests building upon it. As the wind continues to shift, we have the opportunity to keep learning, keep refining, and keep trimming our sails so that it become more fully aligned with the opportunities now unfolding around us. Perhaps that is what the transitional wind has been quietly inviting us to notice all along. Not that the destination has changed, not that yesterday's wind was wrong, only that today's wind may allow us to travel even farther if we are willing to recognize it, adjust to it, and embrace it together. As we celebrate this remarkable 4th of July and enduring principles of freedom, service, and free enterprise, perhaps we can also appreciate the opportunity before us. The wind continues to build, the sails continue to fill, and together, as we continue learning, serving, adjusting, and helping others reclaim their health, it feels as though some of the most meaningful miles of this voyage are still ahead. Okay, a reminder that everyone is on mute. That's my docket item. I mentioned it was a bit longer than normal. I couldn't really get it condensed, but that is the transitional wind. Yes, I believe I hear Hank. And speaking of someone that knows about sailing, is that you, Hank?
Good morning, guys. Well, you really were hitting home there because, as some of you know, Carol and I sailed on Lake Erie for 25 years, and the wind is a thing you got to watch. In fact, on what's called the backstay of the sailboat, we used to tie a small ribbon that kind of gives you an idea how the wind keeps shifting on you. And when you see a shift on that small ribbon called a telltale, we would adjust the sail accordingly. That's when Carol used to say, "Can't you sit still?" I said, "You don't sit still on a sailboat. You gotta keep your eye open what the wind is doing if you want to get the best performance of your boat." So I just want to share that with you, and you're listening to that. Really brought home a lot of stories I could tell you. Some were scary, and Carol could tell you about some of those, but they were fun and exciting. Just keep the upper lip tip and watch the telltales so you know where to head your sails. And keep in mind your destination. Always focus on where you want to be going. So I just want to share that with you, and thank you for bringing that up.
Absolutely, Hank. And thank you for commenting on that. You can imagine how, as I was putting that docket item together, my thoughts, routinely went to you and Carol because of my awareness of your years of sailing on Lake Erie. And yes, and in fact, on Rich DeVos, he mentions, of course, a lot of their sailing was on Lake Michigan, and he references Lake Michigan and the sailing conditions there. So thank you, Hank, on
And
that.
just
And what's that called
one
off the
more,
back of?
one more comment, Eric. Lake
Yep.
Erie's got that name for a reason. It's a shallow lake, so it can become very eerie out there when things start to happen. They happen quickly.
I've heard that the wind, when it builds because of the shallowness of it, you can be into. Is that the case?
Yeah, it can really churn up real quick. So anyway, I won't take any more time. Just want to share those thoughts.
Eric,
Ah, thank you, Hank.
uh, uh,
Yes.
that was beautifully done. Rich DeVos, if he could hear that, would be thinking, why didn't I add that to my talk? So I just wanted to say, great job there. It helps us so much. And since we've been in Amway all these years, there were even years that Rich and Jay went through such transitions, uh, getting getting the business approved as being legal, and that 10-year battle with the Federal Trade Commission that we won, Amway won, because it is a legal business. We do sell product. And so anyway, it just lots of transitions that we've seen, but certainly you just tied it in so beautifully. Thank you.
Uh, Thank you, Sharon. It's interesting that you mentioned that because you're right. In these four wind talks, he's kind of used that template a number of times, probably many, many times, only some of which got the recording done. But yeah, you're right. He uses that in that. I mean, that was probably one of the most shifting wind, riskiest, stormiest period of time I can imagine in their legal battle that came out so successfully in terms of um, codifying the business model as a very legitimate uh, business model. But he also referenced some other things that some of you could probably remember or relate to. He did just a brief comment on something that they were managing at the time in terms of phosphates and something in products, and that was just another area where there was this shifting wind as things were learned. We of course have like um, key products like liquid organic cleaner, and he was emphasizing the organic nature of this. And bear in mind, some of these recordings I think were like in the 70s or maybe early 80s, but at the same time there were some things regarding some phosphates that the industries have become aware of, and they had to tweak formulations and stuff like that. So there's constantly shifting winds. To your point, Sharon, that one being with the FTC was a big one, and so that was great. But
as Sharon mentioned, they not only were proven to be legal, but they were also the business model by which all other direct selling companies were to follow. So we became not only legal, we became a model for a relatively new way of doing business. And so I think it was 5 years, the FTC actually, the company just gave them office space and said, have at it. We have nothing to hide. And I think it was a 5 year checklist or whatever they did. But in the end, they said it's not only legal, but this is the business model that you should follow. And so I think that's pretty exciting.
The gold standard, you're saying?
The gold standard, yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Great
And
point, Carol.
I
Yep.
think also that Four Winds, I think you should be able to find that on YouTube, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know that
Yes.
it's on the N21 mobile, but it might be on YouTube. I think it's on YouTube.
Right. There was a time where there was some Rich DeVos stuff, like you say, on the N21 mobile. But I don't know if they're still on there or not. But yes, on YouTube, there's some Rich DeVos content on there. Yeah. That's great.
Eric,
Yes.
I just have to share that when I was traveling with the Sanborn Singers, and I had the opportunity to ride in the plane, and Rich DeVos was on the plane, and after it was about the time that he was coming out with that Four Winds, and I actually wrote a song and had it produced with one of the Amway technician guys that had a recording studio. And it's exactly about that. It's the Four Winds, the southern breeze that can lull you, and beware the easterly winds that will be constantly changing and so forth. So someday I'll send you that little, what do you call it, a JPEG or something that you plug in?
Yeah,
Is that
yeah. Oh my gosh, man, that's amazing.
yeah,
I don't know,
it's
maybe others
pretty.
have known that. That is so cool.
And let
Yeah,
me
I
add
will.
an unbiased opinion. It's a fabulous song. She did an outstanding job on it, and it sounds great. Just saying.
Might we be able to attach that to this recording? I don't know. I don't know legalities or anything.
We
Yes,
might be
yes,
Well,
able
yes.
to.
there's no legal issue about it because I mean, as far as I don't have any whatever
Right,
attached to
royalty.
that song. But anyway, I'll let Eric try to figure that out. But
Yeah, well, I think
it,
we could just have it up as a standalone item, maybe throw it right into the Voices of Healthpointe YouTube playlist as an additional item, in kind of alongside this episode here. And yeah, if you've got the link to or if we can kind of get it a link to that recording, kind of figure that out, then we can also put it in our group communications. You can just put it all over. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
okay, well, I'm not going to technologically do it, but maybe you can.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, give me what you have, and we'll see if we can do something with it.
All right.
That's great.
Give it to
And
me also, Pam, and I will attach it, separately, but to our lean team and our HealthPoint team community on Messenger. I can attach it on those two or put it on there.
Okay, I'll check with Eric and somebody
mhm.
about how you would do that link. I'm
Yeah.
old school, but I used to have it on a CD and I wanted to share it with our kids.
Okay.
And they said, "Are you kidding me? We don't even have a CD player." So I had to have it put on a little flash drive, I guess. So I'll
Yeah.
figure it out. I'll figure it out, Eric.
Yeah. That's just so cool. It's got to really resonate with you, having, written and sang a song about the Four Winds. It's just, that message from Rich has endured for a reason, right? Is that there's no such thing as, one direction of a wind, for forever. And so that's what I hope to convey, particularly I mean, it's timely, but it seems extra special here, coming up on the 4th of July and then such a significant 4th of July of the 250th year and the celebration of that. And, celebrating, where we are at and also looking, I think, very optimistically, forward with, particularly in terms of working with this slightly adjusted, trimmed sales. Again, this didn't happen overnight, but we're seeing more in terms of at the weekend conference, agendas, more of it leaning. Look, we've always been, here's the thing, talk about just a slight tweak. This at its core, with the beginning with Rich DeVos and Jay Van Andel, was the Nutrilite brand. So this is about health. This is not
Good
this.
job. You're walking
massive,
that really good.
Yeah. Okay.
My sons love to do that.
One second here. Let me. One more.
Okay, so I know I'm the orange dot girl, but I still had a chance, so I just checked, and the Four Winds is on YouTube.
Oh, good.
Okay. All right. So great. So guys, you can check it out there. But yes, so just this transitional wind that we all have just subtly. I just gotta thank so much the deep leadership that is here on these Saturdays. Hank and Carol and Jerry and Sharon and others, and then beyond our Saturday mornings, the leadership and Network 21 I mentioned, and leadership around the Network 21 global footprint. This transitional, staying true to the basic framework of what we do, but embracing this powerful wind that is, when we trim our sails and take advantage of it, whether it's with how we have conversations with people, how we help people, how we build depth, so naturally through people. I mean, depth has always been a principle in this business, but now it's just a little trimming of the sail when somebody reaches that 20 pounds and it becomes very visible, maybe 25, 30 pounds. And we work, through and to the people that are almost in all cases asking them about what are they doing. They look great. You seem so, you've lost weight. And so that's depth. That is a principle that's been around and we've deployed. That's not something new, but it's just a slight tweak of the sails, a slight adjustment of the rudder to fully feel the power of that wind that is, coming from the Healthpointe approach to things, and coming in, typically with clients, that, experience the products and the transformation. And then if they choose to, can become encouragers and then maybe become, business owners. But that's a slight tweak of something that is a wind that has already been in our sails, that is just a slight adjustment. And if we trim our sails properly, we really feel that power. If we don't, the sails kind of flutter a little bit as we're still trying to build. So I'm just looking forward to just this continued tweaking of our sails, with the leadership of Dave and Natalie and Network 21 team and the leadership here in North America, and also the global leadership. And it's just when we talk about the very, very optimistic voyage ahead, embracing this transitional wind, it's not even speculative. We're seeing it. We're absolutely seeing it and feeling it. So
one of the uniquenesses of our community is that people outside of our community often will curse the wind. And it is the wind that moves the boat. We need the wind. You don't want to curse the wind. And so I had coffee with a young man from my church who had had a bad experience. And one of the things we talked about was, now that you've had the north winds, do you have a better idea now of what you do want? So he now knows what he doesn't want. Do you now have from that experience now, you have a little more clarity about what you do want? And so, anyways, the importance of being able to transition through all four winds to keep the boat moving is what our community does to help us to maintain that attitude, as we have our coaches and encouragers and this community that helps blow belief into us when we hit those plateaus or have surgeries or different things, that those north winds come. It's nice to have a community that blows the warm winds into our sails.
Wow.
That's so well said, David.
I was going to say, David, you have such good insight. That's well said.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was very well said. And coming from an experience with a young man that you sat down with, wow, great stuff.
I would have to add that we were, while you were talking, and not to be sacrilegious or anything like that, but I had a vision of, I've got some coaches and some encouragers that can walk on water and come get me. So that was a little visual I had too. I go, sometimes they even just walk on water and help you. So I thought I'd add that.
I'm scribbling it down as a future docket item. I'm going to steal that. Thank you.
Or take you off the cliff, or help you off the cliff.
Yeah, that's great. Well, great stuff. Thank you, everyone, for commenting on that. And let's move it along and shooting it over to our sanguine friend, Debbie Llewellyn, on Dress Yourself Happy. So, Debbie, take it away.
Oh, yes. Good morning. Thank you. So I actually came across this idea in a catalog that I got in the mail, and they had a page dedicated to this, and this is called dopamine dressing, like dressing your clothes. And it says, feeling a little blah, change your clothes to boost your mood. To understand this concept, it's important to understand the basics of dopamine, which is a type of neurotransmitter. Our bodies produce dopamine and our nervous systems use it to send messages between nerve cells, according per Maria Constantino, a lecturer in cultural and historical studies at the London College of Fashion. It has many functions. It is involved in reward, motivation, memory, and attention. When dopamine is released in large amounts, it creates feelings of pleasure and reward, which motivates us to repeat a certain or specific behavior. And so somebody decided to investigate this back in 2012. So the idea of dopamine dressing, she found that when participants wore clothes of symbolic value to them, their perceived confidence increased. So do you ever put on a certain shirt and just feel better about the day? Or maybe a certain necklace or favorite earrings that complete your outfit and make you feel more confident? That's a form of dopamine dressing. And then it goes on again and talking about it was Dr. Dawn Karen, a fashion psychologist and author of Dress Your Best Life. While researching how clothing choices impact mental health, she coined the term mood enhancement dressing, aka dopamine dressing. But does it really work? And if so, how do you do it? The psychology behind it. So they said that the ideas behind dopamine dressing stem from color psychology, the notion that certain colors can affect our moods and play a big role in how we feel. The research suggests that yellow is associated with energy and optimism, blue evokes a sense of calmness, and red can bring out our sense of excitement or passion. This concept is part of what psychologists called enclothed cognition. How do you like that? It's the idea that clothing we wear can work to influence not just how others see us, but how we see ourselves. While scientific studies on dopamine dressing specifically are still lacking, experts note they definitely have seen their share of anecdotal evidence in favor of the trend. As a psychologist, I see how our environment and habits impact our emotional well-being, and that includes what we wear, said Firuza Aliva, Chief Medical Officer at the Plena Mind Center. Personally, I believe it works, not because clothes have magic powers, but because of what they represent. She noticed that when she and her clients choose outfits that feel expressive, joyful, or even nostalgic, they're sending a message to themselves, I matter today. That shift in mindset, she says, can be incredibly grounding. And then another psychologist said people tend to feel at least a little more self-assured, energetic, or happy when they are wearing an outfit or a tie they love with positive memories. That feeling could be quite similar to the release of dopamine. So as we're all on this journey of health and wellness, in addition to listening and reading, we might want to figure out what clothes we associate with confidence and joy and wear them. That's it.
That's so great. Debbie, thank you. You know, as I was listening to that, and it went, I got to say, in a slightly different and kind of more universal direction than I anticipated, because, I had it in my mind that this is, about, sanguine. And for those that aren't familiar with that, that's of the four personality types, that is the more like literally colorful personality, often in clothing and stuff like that. But what I'm hearing was that, it wasn't necessarily suggesting that. It was, you as an individual, we talk about bioindividuality, identifying what works for you, what colors, what clothing, what structure works for you. And it might be, the blues or the...
Excuse me for over talking you. It's the part of the psychology that you have to feel it yourself. You put on something and you feel really good. And so so when you wake up in the morning and maybe you're like, I've experienced a lot of plateaus. So if I put on an outfit that I haven't been able to wear for years, it definitely makes me feel better. So that's going to keep my motivation going strong and keep me set my sights on what it is that I really want to accomplish. So, I go through my closet and look for things that I feel good in because it helps my mood the entire day, even though I haven't reached my lifetime, maintenance yet. So it's how you feel about yourself. And when you're out in public, then when you're wearing something you feel good in, you are giving off a vibration that is naturally going to attract other people, and they may engage in a conversation with you.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. You're feeling that dopamine drip, by putting that on, you're kind of changing your emotional state. And that is, almost palpable is what you're saying, in terms of it's beneficial for yourself and your own self-awareness and feeling great. But also, when you feel great, it's likely that, others are going to kind of pick up on that as well.
Eric?
He's talking about trimming the sails.
Yeah, for sure. and also, I'm hearing like with you, Debbie, it's not only like colors and stuff like that, but also something that you didn't fit into before that now you fit into. I mean, talk about a dopamine hit. That's great. And this is also really consistent with, some of you are familiar with the book, Willpower Doesn't Work. And so I was doing a reread through that. And that is very much, Debbie, what the author is talking about. Dan Hardy, I think, is the psychologist, and the environment and context that you build around yourself that changes your state, and part of that certainly is clothing and stuff like that. So,
Eric, Debbie
yeah.
might want to share just a little experience she had. And Debbie, I don't want to put you on the spot if you don't want to share it, but the experience that you just shared with me, the positive experience.
Oh, sure. I'll talk about it. So I've shopped at the same Kroger for years. And since I'm there all the time, I get to know the people that work there. So there's a particular assistant manager. And the other thing that I have to talk about, when you're overweight, you tend to want to cover up. And so I'm famous for wearing coats. I was always wearing coats because that somehow made me feel like I was hiding my body. So yesterday, Tom and I went grocery shopping, and it was a little bit warmer, and I didn't wear a coat. and I bumped into this, her name is Hanan, and I bumped into her. She caught me once. She said, wow, you really look good. And then when we were leaving, she came up to me a second time and she said, you look fantastic. What are you doing? She actually asked me how I had lost weight. So I don't have her contact information. I have to follow up with her again. But I was wearing a blouse that I had purchased over 5 years ago. I could not get into that blouse. I could not get my arm even into the blouse. And I wore that to the store yesterday and I felt good and people noticed. So that's what I can say.
Oh my gosh, what a great story. And at the core of this model, I mean, you literally have somebody, by virtue of you doing your transformation, it's visual and viral, as we say, and somebody, he literally commented and then came at you a second time, kind of chased you down.
Yes,
I mean,
she did.
don't you just love that? You know, if you're in a business where prospects are literally like making a second effort to come after you and ask you for information and more insight, that is awesome. Carol, thanks for asking about that. I'm so glad, Debbie, that you shared that experiencing about being in Kroger's and what that was about. And I'm sure, you know, there's so many stories across the landscape of Healthpointe where that type of experience and its various iterations happens daily, weekly, you know, monthly, and that's why things are growing. You know, these people, I don't know, you know, about this employee at Kroger and their personal interests, of course. You know, maybe you have better insight or will have better insight with that, and particularly with Carol's help on that. But, you know, presumably, if you've got somebody making a second effort like that, it could be just out of a genuine enthusiasm for you, but my bet is it's because of that, but their own interests. It's not just, wow, congratulations. It's, oh, congratulations. And I'm looking for information on how did you do this, you know?
And she specifically asked that. So I have to follow up with her. So and the thing was, this is what goes back to the stressing. I was feeling so great that I could fit into this blouse. So I was carrying that. I had that extra boost of dopamine. I was feeling really good. And people were, you know, saying something, coming up to me. And when you feel good about yourself, you carry yourself differently. I'll attest to that. You feel differently. What's so really nice about this, Eric, is that I call my weight loss journey in 2 phases, and then we're going to get to, you know, the knee recovery. But people know me after retirement because I gained weight, and then before retirement. So this person knew me after retirement when I had gained a lot of weight, and then has seen the transition. So other people I know will not notice until I get a little bit thinner, because they always knew me at the memory weight.
Wow.
If that makes any sense. Because even my children did not notice I had lost weight because they always remembered me at my memory weight.
Oh, interesting.
And Eric, let me just mention too that, you know, she Debbie's talking about increasing dopamine, etc. And I went into my computer to look up something I just read in the last few days. And here's some things along that dopamine area. Neuroscientists have now confirmed that gratitude, we look for ways, this is not what it says, but my side point is we look for ways that make us feel better about ourselves. And it says neuroscientists, this is written by a brain surgeon, neuroscientists have now confirmed that gratitude rewires the brain for joy. And it says neuroscience has shown that practicing gratitude activates the medial prefrontal cortex of your brain, the part of your brain that's right behind your forehead, and helps regulate your emotions. It boosts dopamine, and serotonin. And so these are the feel good neurotransmitters, and we can help ourselves by being grateful. So I am grateful to hear the things that y'all are saying this morning.
Great stuff, Jerry. And yes, practice of gratitude. And Laurel, I see you have your hand raised, and as I think of commentary during these walk and talks on the practice of gratitude, and I think of you, Laurel, because you've commented on it a number of times, and Jerry, tying that together in some recent research that you looked into or read about how that there's confirmation that gratitude rewires the brain for joy. Boy, don't we all want that? So Laurel, if you had your hand up, go for it.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment back to Debbie's stuff about the color, just from my counseling standpoint of view. There's a reason why when you buy pick up paint samples, they talk to you about which colors to use. And it's a huge deal. They've done all kinds of studies. I remember learning that in prisons, they learned never to use red or pink in jail cells because it got everybody all worked up, and they tried to use, muted colors. There's just tons of science on that. And I think it works with clothes as well, obviously. But I use that in my counseling office with kids. I'd have all these fidget toys that they could have in their hands while they're talking, took their mind off what they wanted to talk about. And they would talk, without realizing what they were saying sometimes. And I also had a string mobile that was all the different colors of the rainbow, pastels and brights. And they would sit and play with that. And I could kind of get a feel for their mood by the colors of things that they chose. They came in angry, they always picked black or the red. And then as they worked through it, I'd see them lay it down. They'd pick up a calmer color. They'd do the same thing with the string mobile. They'd pull out the red ones and tie them all in a knot, and then by the end of the time, they'd be, light blue or whatever. It was just so enlightening. And I think of that all the time when I look at our house and how we paint what walls and what kind of pillows we have or whatever. And I'm not a good decorator, but I focus on things that I know make us happy. And so I would just say, even if you're not too concerned about your clothes, take a look at your surroundings. I mean, obviously nature works great, but your office, your work spot, put something there that makes you happy. So I just thought I'd add that. Sorry, I didn't want to take up too much time.
Oh, that's great. Building on that, such an important topic there. So thank you, Laurel. And just a brief commentary on you. In preparing for my docket item, I did go back and listen to part of that. I mentioned about the item that we did over a year ago on the headwinds becoming tailwinds, that episode, whatever number it was. And you were in there talking on something. And I just got to say, your difference, which you've talked about, in fact, recently you did the spotlight story. And wow, looking at you now, and then I think it's, 80 pounds or something like that you've lost. And I just got to say, I just always think of you as I see you now, but, going back to a previous episode, I was like, hey, Laurel looks great, but boy, she looks different, than she does now. So I just wanted to comment on that as well. So
well, thanks.
You bet, Laurel. We're so excited to have your story and your spotlight that you and Carol did. Steve Beber, you got your hands up, and then we'll go to Eileen after Steve.
Great, thank you, Eric. Really interesting about the colors, and especially what Laurel just said about pink and red. I was at a seminar a number of years ago, and it was dealing with colors in the classroom and what effects colors have. And so they did a demo, and the guy they picked, he was from our school. He was not somebody that worked out. But so he was a good choice. And so the speaker had him come up and had him hold his arm out and hold it as straight out as he could and resist. And she showed in front of him, she had a big pink sheet of paper. And while he was looking at that, she made an effort to push his arm down, and it was like no resistance at all. I mean, it went down in a heartbeat. Then she changed the colors, and she had a red sheet in front of him and had him do the exact same thing. And she had one heck of a time trying to get his arm down. And she went on to say, you know, how obviously how colors affect things, but also happened to say that some of the NFL teams in the visitors' locker room, they will have it painted pink. I guess, you know, to help maybe give them a calming appearance or effect. But I thought that was really, really interesting. What a subtle effect colors have, and you know, we like you said, we feel that when we put on certain clothes, and we just feel like Superman. And other things you might put on, you think, oh Lord, I'll wear this today, you know, but you don't feel as good. So interesting, and it kind of tied in what we've been talking about. So back to you. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Steve. Yeah, nothing like a story like that in this case in the school system to illustrate that. It really is interesting, you know, and so great in these episodes. We talk about all these things. I think it was a couple episodes ago or so that Laurel was talking about the music, right, that you listen to and how that can change our state. Now we're talking about the colors, clothing that we wear, walls and interiors, and now Steve, even with a piece of paper that can have that effect. And so, yeah, it's really interesting. All these different things that we increasingly become more and more aware of. So thank you on that. And Eileen, you have some chat about your knee, I think, and walking. Eileen, looking forward to hearing from you.
Hey, so, I've been doing Healthpointe for a number of years. I've had a knee issue since 2023, had a stress fracture, meniscus tear, got through that. Anyway, finally had knee replacement 4 weeks ago, 4 weeks and 2 days. And so I've walked 10,000 steps for quite some time, but depending on my knee, I couldn't. Anyway, so I had knee replacement. I won't minimize how hard it is. It's a really hard recovery. They warn you ahead of time. But at 2 weeks, you go back to your doctor, and he was quite impressed with my range of motion, being able to bend my knee. And I'm sure that's because of the walking with Healthpointe. And then my home health PT said I could walk better than average for 2 weeks out. And now that I'm in regular PT, I'm doing 5,000 steps a day as of 4 weeks and 2 days, which I can't even believe. Like, the pain finally let up at about 4 weeks. But before that, I was trying my best to walk around the house and everything. But I know it's from my training with Healthpointe. There's no doubt in my mind that walking 10,000 steps a day has helped me to get through this, which, like I said, kind of rough.
Wow. And you're already up to 5,000 steps after only 4 weeks or so after your surgery.
And they said it's okay. Just be careful, watch your swelling, blah, blah, blah. I don't do it all at once. I do 2 or 3 walks. So I'm following doctor's orders. I'm not going crazy, but that works for me. And apparently that's good.
Wow.
I have to jump in here. I have to jump in here and tell Eileen that is amazing, because I've had both knees replaced. And on one of them in particular, it was probably 2 months at least before I could even go all the way around on a bicycle. You know, you're pedaling a bicycle. I had to go forward and then back and then forward and back. So good job. You're amazing.
I can't do the bike all the way around yet, unless it's, the recumbent, but walking is a little easier than a bike, I think.
I think
because of that flex, that amount of flex at the pedaling. Yeah, gotcha.
I think the comment that you made also is you don't do it all at once. I think that's a really important thing for us as coaches as we're starting a new person, especially a person that either has knee problems or is very overweight and hasn't done walking, to have them do mini walks all through the day. I think it's a lot easier for them to realize how they can build on those steps just by handling in that manner.
Yeah, and it is good for you still, even if you break it up.
Yep.
Yeah. I've always said being healthy helps you prepare for the unexpected, or in this case, the expected.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a number of stories here, just within our community, David Munoz, who just spoke. And, of course, we have the story of he and with Kathy's help as his coach, Kathy, his wife, as his coach, preparing him for his surgery and how that surgery and all the skills and preparation and weight loss and everything that prepared him so well for his surgery. They were actually able to move up the surgery, make a lower risk surgery, and then the recovery was extraordinary. And then same thing with you, Eileen. What I'm hearing is, and we've heard, and of course you and Carol and Hank are, probably, more in conversation, but for the rest of us in the community, I just speak for myself. I can remember, on past episodes of Voices of Healthpointe, where you would comment about your knee. It was an issue. It was a painful thing, and it was a factor. Didn't know what direction that was going. I didn't know that you were getting a surgery, but now to hear the story of after your surgery and how, once again, because of the work that you did ahead of time, maybe you knew a pending knee replacement was in the future. Maybe you hadn't really thought that through, but regardless, you did the work of Healthpointe, had extraordinary results, you and Bruce. In fact, I see Bruce there and as well. Hey, good to see you, Bruce. Yeah. And just, and as David Munoz is saying, whether it's the expected or unexpected surgery, you're in such better position to do that. And then also after, the post-op, to be able to move into PT and have really extraordinary outcomes on that, particularly as Laurel is saying, compared to what she was experiencing. You at 4 weeks are remarkably ahead of schedule, I guess is the way you would say it.
Yeah, and I mean, I can't say it feels great. I'm not like, woohoo, I'm all better, but I'm just happy to know that the walking ahead of time really helped. And I wanted to share that.
Well, that's an important message. Most people, I think it's safe to say, most people, at some point are going to have something of a, surgical, not all, but many will. Many will have knees. I mean, we all know many people, right, that have knees and stuff like that. And boy, going into it, having, been not only healthy and less weight on that joint, but also knowing and having the knowledge and the skills to be able to maintain your health through that healing and recovery. So vital, such an important topic. So thank you, Eileen, and great again to see both of you. Yay. Very cool.
And kudos to Bruce. Kudos to Bruce, because Eileen has been bragging on, first of all, how well he's doing on his Healthpointe, but also on what a great caregiver he's been to her and keeping her eating healthy and doing what she needs to do.
Yeah, he's been walking me up and down the street before I could walk on my own. So, and everything else too. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, you guys are just such a great team. We just love hearing you guys, seeing you guys, and so forth. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thanks.
And Steve Bever, I don't know if you have another comment or if you just forgot to put your hand down. I didn't notice. So if you have another comment, go for it. If not, Sounds like maybe.
Nope, sorry, it didn't.
Okay, and I failed
forgot
to
to put it. Forgot to put it
no,
down. So
no,
let me
no
get that
worries, no
lowered.
worries.
There we go.
All right. Well, we've done it again. Just some, final announcements and stuff like this, like we typically do at the end of an episode. But other than that, we've once again, just an hour has flown by. We're coming up on a wrap of our last episode of June, and it's been great. We've had some great docket items, even more fantastic, discussions around those docket items, which is what's so fun. And again, just to reiterate what we started off with in terms of, kind of announcements or schedules and so forth, we will not have a Saturday Voices of Healthpointe Walk and Talk next Saturday, which is Saturday, the 4th of July. And also Carol mentioned that we will not have the Monday night, 8 p.m. to 8:30, the 30-minute program on Monday night, the Lean Team program on July 6th. So please make a note of that.
May I interject for a sec? This is Tom.
Yes, for sure, Tom.
Just a quick comment. I've also had knee surgery and a whole bunch of eye surgeries and such, but I've tried to build my stamina. I'm at the other end of the scale of activity. People would come up to me and say, "Are you awake?" Things like that. So, but now and now I'm to the point where I'll be this time next week, I'll be walking in the Milford Parade, the 4th of July parade. I'm conducting a dramatic reading of the Declaration before and after the parade, and really just having a great time. My big motivation for this occasion is that I have a Ben Franklin outfit that's fairly tight on me in other seasons, but I've been able to skinny into this outfit, so I'll be able to pontificate and play the part well. So I wish you all a happy 4th of July celebration as well.
Way to go, Ben!
Yeah, Ben. We'll start calling Tom Ben. That is so cool. Tom, and you might not know this, but I grew up in Milford, very familiar with the Milford Parade. In fact, my dad, still lives there. And if it wasn't for being up at our cottage for the 4th of July, I would probably be, with him. Maybe Emily and I would go and do the Milford Parade. So that would be fun to be able to see you, doing your reenactment and catch you in your.
I actually pull people out of the audience to do a paragraph or a sentence in sequence. So it's really quite a participatory event, and everybody has a lot of fun with it.
I bet. That sounds fantastic. Cool. Yeah, Milford's great town, really great town. So. All right, Carol, any other announcements on things as far as schedules or anything else like that?
Just wanted to mention that a little preview of Monday night. I've asked Steve to come back on because I think muscle is so important in a health journey, the building of good muscle, especially many of us aren't 21 years old anymore. And really, as you go on, the importance of keeping your muscle mass solid will prevent a lot of other things. And Steve does such a great job on Muscle Multiplier. And then now with our beautiful new creatine, being able to add that together in how they make an important part together. And so he's going to be covering some of that. And then I might even throw a few other comments in there. So I did want to say, have people join in, have your clients join in, because it's really, really important to make sure that you can maintain that muscle. And there's nobody better than Steve to explain that. So that's for Monday night.
Fantastic. Yes, absolutely. Nobody better than Steve on that and other topics for sure, but we're looking forward to that. So yes, there will be a Monday evening, 8 p.m. this Monday, just not the Monday after 4th of July. So
no, I'll be on the plane that Monday. That's why we're not having the lean team next Monday.
Okay. All right. Well, guys, this has been great. And we will plan on resuming not next Saturday, but the Saturday after. And until that time, happy 4th of July, everyone. Happy 250th to
God bless
the
America.
United States. Yes, God bless America. Until then, we'll see you guys.
Thank
Same
you.
place, different time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
God bless.
Happy 4th of
Bye.
July.
Bye.
Yay,
Happy 4th.
yay.